Hi, I'm Rebecca Bradley. This is the Virtual Crime Book Club. It is Monday, the 27th of November 2023, and today we are discussing Case Histories by Kate Atkinson, as shown there. I listen to the audiobook. I never have the physical book to show anybody. So yes, if you're watching this as a video rather than being here in the meeting, do be aware that we usually do go full spoiler. So you might want to make sure you've read the book before you continue watching. So has everybody read the book?
Yes.
We're not going to spoil it for anybody present, because we have done that sometimes. Okay, did you enjoy it?
I've loved it, but I'm a big fan of Kate Atkinson.
Yeah.
I don't think it's for everyone's taste. I think it's a very particular style. I do love her books because I like the sense of humor. I like the way she builds the stories, but also the characters and the way that she writes up the characters. They always have lots of sense of humor. They're always very unlucky in life, but so I always like the character development. I do love her books, but I don't think they are like a typical crime book. But that's why I usually enjoy the books. I have read this book many years ago. I read it again now. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
She has a very huge fan base, doesn't she, Kate Atkinson?
I think so. Because she writes different styles, not only crime.
Doesn't she do historical as well?
Yeah, but they're all very similar in terms of the way she develops the characters and the way she writes, which I enjoy a lot. So yeah, so I'm a fan, so that's why I really enjoyed this book.
What else did people like about the book?
I really like the interplay between the characters, especially the relationship between Julia and Amelia. I thought that was great. And there's a really great scene early on there where the two of them are getting drunk outside somewhere and reminiscing about their father. I just thought that was so well written, and that's one of the things I really liked.
Yeah. Dawn, you were a bit so-so about it.
Yeah, I started off liking it, but I didn't like, in the end, I didn't like the way it was portrayed and the way the story was going. And I didn't like the detective very much. He didn't appeal to me at all. So although I liked some of it, I didn't like other bits of it. So I was a bit, I couldn't tell you I liked it, but couldn't say I didn't like it, if you know what I mean. I wasn't sure about it. I didn't like the style of writing, I have to say. But I was surprised because I can't remember the title. I read another Kate Atkinson book a long time ago and loved it.
Would it be Life After Life? Would it be Life After Life that you read? Because that was a big hit.
Yes, I think it might have been. Yes.
It's when Ursula keeps dying, the Life After Life. Ursula has a life and then she dies and has another life.
But I certainly wouldn't read this Jackson Brodie series any more of that, because I didn't like the way the character was portrayed.
Yeah. What about him didn't you get on with?
I didn't like the way he was flitting from different viewpoints and different things, and things seemed to fall into his lap without doing much work, really, you know. And then all of a sudden he got all this money from all of a sudden, didn't he? And ended up wealthy all of a sudden. Things just seemed to happen all of a sudden with no explanation. I just didn't get on with it at all.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that we all read it differently. What are other views on the book? Go on then, Clark.
I mean, I enjoyed it with reservations. I really like her writing style. I think she's quite funny. I often laughed out loud, and I think in some ways, for me, that's what rescues it almost, because if you read a lot of crime books, you're used to a book that's got a lot of plot in it, and this book has hardly any plot in it. But it's
Yes.
but it's very clear that she loves her character. She loves people, and she writes very well about people and about their relationships. So if you like that kind of book, you will really like this. But if you're looking for something that's got a much more kind of intricate and well-defined plot, then you're gonna find it a bit tedious, I think. But Dawn's comment about Jackson is quite interesting, because I think of all the main characters, Jackson Brodie is, I think, probably the least developed of all the characters. It's almost as though he's the character that she doesn't feel close. She feels less close to, and I did wonder if that's because what plot there is in his part of the book. His chapters are the chapters that kind of drive the plot along, in a small, all right, not much plot in this book, but I think it's all almost in his chapters. So maybe for me, he's the least rounded, the least interesting, the least likable of the characters, and maybe for the author as well.
She does develop him in the next books of the series.
Okay, so I wondered that. Yeah, I wondered that.
Be because I don't know. Maybe she intended this to be a series, and she thought, okay, I'll just develop him later on.
Yeah, I wondered that.
I read all of them, so she does develop him a bit more. He keeps being unlucky. Don't worry, the money will not last.
I think as Lorraine said, it's Amelia and Julia that are, I think, the most interesting characters and the most interesting relationship, and their relationship with their parents, and their that for me is the kind of central part of the book. And for about the first 2/3 of the book, poor old Jackson's just a bit of an afterthought, I think, and he just comes into life in the final parts of the book, really, as things are revealed to us.
You said when you started talking that I think it was Julia and Amelia, but somebody rescued the book. What about the book needed rescuing? What was it that?
I think if you like books which are basically discussions of characters and their relationships, then you'll be quite happy with this book. But I think that if you're looking for something which is a much more typical plot-driven crime book, then you're going to find this a bit tedious. But for me, there was a lot of humor in it, and I think she's quite. This is the only book I've read by Kate Atkinson, and I think she's very good at sort of observing people and observing society, and she's constantly giving us her view, almost, and often that's very funny, and that was great. For me, that was a really interesting part of the book. Yeah.
And the underdevelopment that you say you felt of Jackson might be why Dawn didn't maybe connect with him so much.
Yeah.
Because if Dawn maybe felt the other characters were really fleshed out, that might be why you didn't quite feel connected to him, Dawn.
Seems like the answers to all the three mysteries seem to fall into his lap without him doing an awful lot of work towards it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, it shouldn't be so easy for him.
He didn't do much detecting. All he did was interview a couple of people that the police hadn't bothered talking to 20 years ago.
And what about everybody else? Are we generally favourable otherwise?
I agree with Vera.
I read this book.
Sorry. No, I agree with. Go on,
Karen, and then we'll go to Lorraine.
Sorry, I agree with Vera. I've read all these books in the past, so this was a reread. So I really like the way she writes, and I like the humour, but I do think that the characters develop as the books go on. So I think it's like a typical first book in a potential series where you don't quite get everything. So, but it suits different people, like you say, and it's not got a plot, but to me, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. How many books are in the series?
4.
4.
Yeah.
Okay.
The others have a bit more plot, maybe, because
Yeah.
this one has lots of different cases. The other ones will have like one major case and a couple of things going on.
Yeah.
So in terms of plot, it will be more exciting, maybe.
Yeah. Hi, Muriel.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
No, that's fine. Thanks for joining. Lorraine, you were just about to say something.
Yes, I agree 100% with Karen. Yeah, this was obviously I think she had an idea that this was going to be number one in something away from what she'd written before. So it was going to be like a crime thing, even though it's very much in her genre to write about people, and she discusses people beautifully. But as the series goes ahead, because I didn't reread this book, shame on me, but hey, I've had excuses. But as the next books come along, it gets better and better, and Jackson is really developed. But she's a magnificent writer. Her debut novel, Pieces at the Museum, it's just wonderful. I think I've read it 3 times, and that's a hell of a lot for me. And every time I find something new, and that Life After Life was just incredible, and even made a fabulous TV series, which I don't, or if I've read something and enjoyed it, I really don't enjoy the adaptation, but that was amazing as well. So big tick from her. I've got Shrines of Gaiety waiting on my Christmas reading list. So I can't wait to get stuck into a bit more Kate again.
Going back to the beginning, and what are the 2 sisters called? Amelia and
Sylvia.
Sylvia.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there's
Amelia,
3 sisters, isn't there, and a baby. Yeah.
No, I can't remember what I was going to say about
Yeah, it's
it.
Amelia, Julia, and Sylvia, and Olivia was the baby.
That's it, yes.
I'll go to the question about Jackson. We first meet him and he's sitting in his sports car, smoking, listening to a ladies' radio programme, thinking about his selfish ex-wife while spying on a woman. What kind of first impression do you think that gives a reader when we first meet him? And does the impression change?
I just thought he was really a sad guy. He was like divorced, and he was obviously still holding some grudges. I guess his ex-wife, didn't like his job. It wasn't something exciting, and he was sad, and he liked being sad, and I don't know. He was just trying to survive.
He's a bit dishevelled.
Yes, he was. Hi, Margot. Muriel and Margot have joined us late. We've only just done the questions about who enjoyed it and why. Do either of you have anything you want to say about the initial view on the book?
I really enjoy Kate Atkinson. I haven't read as many as Lorraine did, but I have read 2 or 3 of her books. Yeah, this one I actually didn't read it as the first one. I read another one. I can't remember which one now, but first. And when I saw the series on TV, I think the Case Histories, I was confused as which story it was because the titles were different or something like that. I can't remember anyway. And I really enjoyed the book and the series.
Yeah, okay. I think it's generally favourable for the book. But there has been conversation about it not being a plot-driven book. My question is, it does follow the rules of the mystery genre, but it also subverts them. How does the book differ from other mysteries you've read? And would you classify it as a mystery or a family drama?
Family drama, huh? Not so much a mystery.
It's more of a family drama, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
The mystery happens to be there because Olivia disappeared, for example, or Jackson's sister disappeared, was killed, sorry. But and there are quite a few things to do with murders, but it's not really mystery as such. It's more looking at the people, the effect it's got on them.
Do you think it's a book that should be put up for a crime book club vote?
I think so, in so far as Jackson's job is that, and he does spend a lot of time on his things, his job really, looking for people. But
I mean, we have a private detective and we have cold cases, which was the theme of this month, cold cases.
I still think it was a mystery because we have a detective, we have 3 cases, someone missing, but nobody knew what happened. The other one, someone killed someone, but we didn't know why she did that. And and in the other case, it was also someone killed that girl, Laura, but nobody really understood why. So there is a mystery element. But the thing is that Kate Atkinson is so much more interested in developing the characters and exploring the characters and the relationships between characters, because all the murders, or basically all the murders are motivated by relationships between people that were obsessed with the guy was obsessed with Laura. The sisters had this very dysfunctional relationship with the father and the mother. The other 2 sisters also had a very dysfunctional family. So yeah, it's family drama because every case is related with the relationships between the family, but I would still classify it as a mystery.
I agree completely.
I would say that some of the mystery, if you're looking for a puzzle within a crime novel, is trying to figure out, are there connections between the different case histories? And if so, what are the connections?
That's a good point. Because you are wondering that all the way through.
Yeah.
Because at first the book looks like a series of novels rather than, and then you realize actually there's lots of links between them and you come back to different characters. So there is I suppose the biggest mystery is the way the story has been constructed, the book.
The like I said, the theme was cold case. Did you find the theme of cold case as engaging as something that occurs directly on the page that we normally read? Because the cold case is something that happened years ago off the page and we're just looking at it from a distance, but our usual reads are it's happening here and now. Were you as engaged in it?
I was for this book. I don't normally do it but this book is really took me in.
And I think Atkinson does a great job of portraying those past lives from 20 years. You know, she spends a lot of time in the past, actually.
And you think it's because of the way she portrays the characters that you actually feel that you're connected to the past cases?
I think so, and I think a lot of the characters are very likable, actually.
The 2 sisters were very
from Victor, perhaps.
From Victor.
I mean, I do enjoy cold cases, and I enjoy a book with cold cases in.
Yeah.
Because it gives a historical impact as well. And I like that.
Yeah. Well, novelists are told a lot by agents and publishers to get the action down quickly to hook the reader straight away. It's something that we're constantly told now, that not to drag the beginning on and to get straight into it. But that's not what. Did you feel, rather than me saying, did you feel that you were caught into this story straight away?
Yes,
I
I
did.
did.
Yeah, from the first, yeah.
But it was just a different way of catching you.
Yeah.
I did enjoy
Definitely.
it to begin with. It's as it got into the story, I just thought, I'll be glad when I get onto another book. I started thinking.
I love slow burn
Yeah.
book, when you start very slowly and develop the characters. And I don't like when the murder happens already at the beginning, opposite to most of the readers, I guess. And I do like character development. That's why I enjoy this type of books. I don't really mind if it's a murder that happens only 50 pages on, but at least I'll have lots of background on the characters, and I enjoy the plot more. But sometimes we also have the murder at the beginning, and then the book goes a bit back to explain some things. I also enjoy this.
Yeah, because you need to feel connected to the people, don't you, to care about where the plot is going.
Exactly.
So yeah. Do you think we put too much stock in this common theme nowadays, that people have too short attention spans? So agents and publishers are saying, hook them in straight away.
Yeah.
I think if it's well written, it doesn't really matter. If the story is well written, it doesn't really matter. And if you get an affiliation with the character as well.
Which is what is coming out of this book, is what I'm hearing, is that everybody has connected with Kate Atkinson's characters and just been drawn in through the characters that she's created.
I would think that the problem is, if an author is being ruled by the publisher, editor, whoever it is, then it's not the novel they want to write, and therefore it's probably never as it's not their true novel, if you know what I mean. You're just writing this prescribed script, and and with that, every book will end up sort of reading much the same.
I think that's more new novelists are getting that, and then once you're more used to the way of writing, and you can have the conversation with the people in the business about how your next novels progress. But it's the advice to new novelists. Yeah. Generally, I mean, you have literary fiction, which I think Kate Atkinson's books tend to be more literary, which are more slow, and not slow, but more
character based.
And she's showing, as was said before, she's showing a lot of kindness to her characters, I think, and a lot of them actually could in another novel would have appeared as awful people, just a quick glance at them, rather than what she's doing, which is just see to say who they are, what they're like. And even if that person in another book would have looked like a monster, actually a person in his book. I find
Case Histories has 3 different stories at the start. Before we meet Jackson, I can't remember. Which of the 3, if any, do you think could have been its own novel? Or would you have wanted to spend more time in?
Probably the story of Olivia, the missing girl with the three sisters.
Olivia, yeah.
Sylvia, Amelia, and Julia. Maybe that. But also because Julia and Amelia, they are like main characters in the story. So I think in that way we get a bit more attached to that story.
Yeah, the
And
story
Julia
of the
actually
four
becomes
sisters could have been a book
character
on
of
its
this.
own.
Yeah.
Sorry. This book of the four
agree.
sisters could have been a book on its own. The four sisters could.
I think actually all three stories could have been books on
A
their
book
own.
on their own.
But one of them is quite underwritten, I think, which is the third one.
Yes.
The
Laura.
lady who kills her husband. That's
Yes.
quite underwritten.
Yeah.
She spends a lot more time on the other two stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did wonder if having all three in one book was a weakness, you know, made it slower. And certainly I found the number of characters was at times a bit baffling. Right? There were times where I had to pause and try and work out who people were. But maybe that's just me.
Did anybody else find that? Did everybody manage to keep up with because you did have three separate crimes? Did you keep up with who everybody was?
I struggled with that. I have to say, I did struggle with that.
I
And I
think
had
it
to
was
stop on several occasions, think, now who was this and where did they fit in?
I think at the beginning it wasn't a book you could read in snatches, or else you did just become confused as to the characters for each case history. Obviously as they developed on, then you know they all fell into place a bit more. But yeah, there was a bit when you think, I don't get this, you know, it's just because it was getting to be so confusing as to who was who.
Yeah. Now, which one is Sylvia?
But also because for me, I just kept looking for how were they all going to sort of merge together, you know, because that's very often what happens in these novels of separate threads. Everything gets meshed in the end.
I know parents quite often name their children with similar names, but doing that in a book when there's four of them, that's just confusing.
Yeah.
And they all,
And what did you think of how it was all brought together? What did you think of the way it was wrapped up?
I thought the actual ending was odd, but the sort of merging of some of the stories, I don't think they were all successfully merged together, you know, or was done quite well.
For me, it was the only thing that I think she could have spent a bit more time. I like when things connect, and even if a couple of things were a bit of a stretch, but in a couple of points, she could have spent a few more pages explaining a bit more or giving it a bit more flesh. But at least everything was more or less explained, and then we had a kind of an ending or a beginning of the next book. So,
did you expect the way it ended?
No. I didn't understand why Jackson would want to go off with Amelia and Julia. He didn't seem to get on with them very well during the plot. So why do you end up, especially with Amelia? You might have liked Julia, but didn't think he was interested in Amelia at all.
I don't think he had a choice. He followed Julia everywhere. So if he wanted Julia, he had to have Amelia as well.
I also thought that the actual killings weren't very realistic. I still don't understand why Sylvia murdered Olivia. I mean, that doesn't seem reasonable to me at all. I think and then the fact they didn't find her body. I mean, her body was only in a very shallow grave. Surely, even 20 years ago, they'd have found her body at the time.
And the smell of a body in there.
Binky wouldn't let the police search her garden.
Yes, there was
Apparently.
that.
I don't think you'd be allowed to do that.
That's Binky.
Well, that was in the 70s as
yeah,
well.
this is
wasn't
Binky
it?
we're talking about. This is not an ordinary person.
But when I saw how the murder happened, I was thinking of I don't know if you've read it, The Stranger by Albert Camus, where the person kills but doesn't realize that he's killing, and it's sort of like a haze. It was the sun. That was the only explanation. And I feel Sylvia kind of muffled her sister the same way. It wasn't meant to happen. She didn't have any control over herself or anything. It just happened. And it was very messy, but it happened. It wasn't like a proper murder. It almost like something that shouldn't have happened, really.
Were you surprised by the way it ended?
Well, everyone or just me?
No, everyone.
Everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it chilled me when I saw how Olivia in particular died. I didn't like it.
I thought the third of the mysteries, the lady who murdered her husband with an axe. I mean, that was quite weird the way that was resolved,
Yes.
because it wasn't actually Jackson who told us the solution to that. It was Kate Atkinson who kind of revealed that. You know, Jackson didn't seem to play any role in that at all.
No.
So in a sense, there was no resolution for it, really.
No, it was just there. It just happened.
So were you satisfied with it? Even if you enjoyed the book, were you satisfied with the way it finished?
Do you mean each of the case histories, or do you mean the actual end of the novel?
Each of them and the end of the book.
Because you know, it's Clark saying with that third one, the only connection you have is when obviously her car is passing Jackson Brodie's car in these little lanes. And I didn't feel there's enough in there to know how she could suddenly just disappear again and become somebody else. No matter how much, you know, all she has is a car, very expensive car, but, you know, she doesn't seem to have any wherewithal to just totally change her identity, which is what Kate Atkinson leads us to believe.
But she'd done it once before.
Yes, but that was when she came out of prison, and you kind of felt that it would have been sort of just setting up a new identity for there, whereas you kind of feel just sort of deciding that she will just up sticks and go whenever she wants to. Because the idea that I got was that she would think that she would always keep being on the move, would become more and more difficult.
But maybe it will not work out. We don't know.
We don't.
We don't, because she's just in their car and tempting the priest to go with her. And that's it.
Yeah, we don't know if he went or not.
We don't know if he went. We don't know where she went. She might have gone only to like 100 kilometers and then she went back. We don't know. So everything was a bit open, which for me was fine. I quite liked it. But yeah, we actually don't know. She might have. I don't know.
So for anyone that hasn't already read the rest of the series, will you go on to read the next book?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I'm sure I've read some of them like a lifetime ago. But I can't really sort of make the connections of what happens next.
I know we do get through some books, don't we, in our reading.
Yeah.
I'm just rereading the second one in the series, One Good Turn, and again, she has lots of different characters and interplay between them all. So in a way, it's very much like the Case Histories one. It's she's building up lots of different people, and they're all linked together in some way.
It's her style, I think.
Yeah.
So the general consensus for case histories is, other than Dawn, the group has generally enjoyed it, enjoyed the character journey,
Yep.
and the way she has built her characters and actually taken you on a journey with them.
Yep.
Is that
Yes.
what I'm getting back from everybody?
Yeah.
I just felt the end was, everything was left hanging a bit at the end. That was the only thing. You spent so much time with the characters all through the book, and at the end it just seems to stop. You know, I didn't find that satisfying.
You wanted the ending to be as long as the beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe a neater ending.
Yes.
Mm.
Needed tidying up.
Do you think anything will be further gone into in any of the future books?
I would doubt it.
I
can't remember.
I mean, I would have thought that what you're getting is you're getting this snapshot of people's lives in the cases that he's had. And then as he moves on to other cases, then they're gone.
You move on to other cases.
Yeah.
But Julie becomes a character in the books.
All right.
So one of the scenes of Julia.
Julia's in the second
Julie becomes one of the characters, and there is some development regarding Jackson and his daughter and his ex-wife. So there's some development there. But I think from the characters in this book, I think it's only Julia that moves to the other series, the other books in the series.
Yeah. When you said that it was quite funny, the book, I couldn't think of what was funny about it, but I just thought of the scene where the daughter went in to see her mum and said, "Daddy's just taken me to see a nun and a stone something, and I've got a man in a jar, a dead man in a jar, and something else has happened." And she reeled off all these bizarre things that he'd just done with her. And that made me chuckle, but yes.
Yeah,
she does have a very good eye for people.
She's very observant, I think. Yeah.
I think Marley's a lovely character. She comes across really well.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything else they want to say about Case Histories?
I've got to reread it.
You've got to reread it.
Yes, I know. And I think the whole series I need to reread. But then again, I just love the way that Kate writes. She's got this wonderful way of developing characters that I just, I really can see them in my mind's eye. So that to me is a successful writer.
She's got a new book out though, don't you? You can read.
Shrines of Gaiety. No?
Yeah, I think that's it.
I have it already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've got that. That's there in my thing, but I'm sure there was something else she's written. I think it was a series of short stories or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting my authors mixed up, but I think there's something else since Shrines of Gaiety. But anyway, we will see.
I've got books I'd love to reread, but then I see my TBR pile and I just have to keep trudging forwards.
Oh, exactly. I've got a pile. I could read 350 and still never read them all. They'll all be going packed into my coffin with me, I think. So, so I can read in the afterlife.
Yes, you'll have plenty of time to do it there. Anybody have anything else before I switch the recording off and move on to what's next? No. Okay.
No, it's a good read. I would recommend it.
Good, brilliant. I think that is the general consensus. I have taken your comments on board, Dawn. Stop recording.